In this video, I'll share my best tips and tricks for effectively testing your workflow end-to-end before you start collecting submissions. Testing your workflow gives you first-hand experience filling in web forms and signing your documents. It also gives you an opportunity to check the resulting documents to ensure that everything is filled correctly. Before you start, you should have already created and published a workflow. If you haven't done so yet, watch our other tutorials first. After you've published your workflow for the first time, you'll be redirected to your workflow's dashboard. There are 3 buttons that help you create a new submission. We'll go over each of these in more detail throughout the tutorial, starting with this speaker button, which allows you to create new test submissions. Since I just published my workflow and don't have any newer drafts available, clicking on the speaker button will automatically launch a new test submission using the latest published version of my workflow. Test submissions act just like live submissions, so you can accurately test your end user's experience. When completing a test submission, I'll take special note of any optional fields and logic I've added to make sure that things are working as expected. For example, I want to make sure that this optional field remains optional, so I'll click into it and then I'll click away to make sure that it doesn't include the required flag like other fields do. A lot of these questions on this page included field logic. For example, when I answer that I have allergies, allergy details pops up. If I say I don't have allergies, then I don't need to fill in that field. This was another important question. If I selected no, I didn't have to answer questions about my current pets. If I answered yes, then my next step would be to answer questions about my current pets. Test submissions also allow you to preview the output documents at any time. While you should still test your workflows end-to-end before you start collecting submissions, you can also use test submissions to test specific parts of your workflow. For example, I want to confirm that my list items are filling out correctly in my PDF without having to complete the entire test submission first. To do this, add items to your web form list first. In another tab, pull up your workflow dashboard. If you haven't done so yet, be sure to navigate to your specific web form first. From my Foster Applications workflow dashboard, I can locate all of my submissions, including my current test one. Click on the relevant submission, then click File Output. Find the relevant file, and then click the download icon. This allows me to preview my output document. It will automatically be filled with whatever data was already provided. If I want to tweak anything, I can navigate back to my workflow editor. To do this, first I'll hit the back button on my browser, and I'll click on the name of my workflow in the recently updated section. Then I click on the settings icon, and then edit workflow. Now you can make your desired changes, and then publish your workflow before editing again. Now I'm ready to publish again. Be sure to add a clear publish note. If your change was non-invasive, meaning it doesn't affect your submission data in any way, you can publish your changes to in-progress submissions by selecting this box. Be very careful about applying new changes to in-progress submissions. Invasive changes like adding, editing, or removing fields, especially from your web form, could break your in-progress submissions, which wouldn't be a very good experience for your end user. Style changes like repositioning your PDF fields, updating copy, or changing font color are all non-invasive changes that are generally safe to publish into existing submissions. Since I just have my test submission here and I didn't make any invasive changes, I'm going to push my changes to in-progress submissions. This allows me to see the new updates while I continue to use my same test submission. If you're making multiple changes, including any changes that affect your data input, such as your web form fields, it's best practice to start a brand new test submission rather than reuse an existing one. Sometimes, reusing existing submissions can lead to buggy behavior that doesn't accurately reflect your end user's experience. Now I'll continue to fill in my web form. For the sake of time, I'm going to finish filling it out off camera and then come back and show you the signer experience. Now I've finished filling in my web form and I'm ready to move on to the review and submit button. The review page is my last chance to edit any of my information before I submit my web form and kick off the signing process. You can edit information by clicking on the Edit Info button or the pencil icon next to a specific field. After I've confirmed that all my information is correct, I can click on the Finish and Submit button. Since I previously set my signer to sign immediately after the web form is complete, I can start signing by clicking on the Review and Sign button. This will create a signature packet for me. You'll be first asked to provide your signature. Since I didn't select drawn signatures when configuring my signers, a text signature has been generated for me automatically. Signers will then need to consent to using an electronic signature regardless of whether the signature is drawn or typed. Once they've accepted their signatures and provided their consent, they can start signing. If the same signer needs to provide multiple signatures, clicking on Insert Signature will guide them to their next signature field. If signers prefer to sign all their signature fields at once, they can do so by clicking on the Sign All button. I want to review my entire document, so I'm going to scroll through my entire document instead. I can then click on my assigned signature fields to sign. Now that I've finished my test submission, I can view the completed documents by clicking on this Download button. Reviewing the final document is a crucial step. It helps you ensure that all your data is being filled correctly and that your signatures are properly placed. However, I do personally prefer to view my completed documents through my workflow dashboard rather than through this download button. To do this, I navigate back to my workflow dashboard, click on the relevant submission, select File Output, and then view the final document. Keep in mind that this is a test submission, so the demo mark will still be there. Test signatures will also appear in red and are not legally binding e-signatures. If you'd like, you can also download your submission as a CSV file if you want to export the information outside of Anvil. Now that I've confirmed that my web form is configured how I'd like, and my document is being filled out correctly, I'm ready to start collecting submissions. Looping back to those buttons I talked about at the beginning of the tutorial, this button will instantly launch a unique submission. From this page, I can copy the URL in my browser's address bar and send that URL to the person I want to complete a workflow submission. Personally, however, I prefer to use the link copied using the Copy Share Link button. Every time this link is accessed, it launches a new test submission, making it super easy for me to embed this link in an email or on a website to share with anyone who needs to complete your workflow. And that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this 4-part series on how to automate your documents end-to-end with Anvil workflows.